Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to what is known as the world's most watched professional wrestling news program, including being over in the UK as we are. Welcome.
We're over.
To our studios, coming to you from downtown Milwaukee, broadcasting across the world. Dameon Nelson here alongside the man they call Meathead. This is the Pro Wrestling Report. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody, on the website, pwrshow.com, and on television in Milwaukee, and all over the world on our exclusive YouTube channel. Even Google Video.
I want to change myself to the man they call Grizzly Adams. And I think I should be like that until I shave this thing off.
Did you lose some kind of bet or something? Is that?
Yeah. Kennedy!
Let's move right into this week's wrestling news, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start with WWE. Two big developmental signings that are huge news here in Milwaukee. Two local superstars, one being Mike Venom Walker. The other is appeared on this very program, by the way. The other being Egotistical Fantastico, both who have wrestled extensively throughout the Midwest and specifically here in Milwaukee, have just been signed to WWE developmental deals and will be heading to either Atlanta or Louisville very soon.
Great, that's great. Again, Mike Venom Walker, who's been on this program, has the size, has the look, and has the charisma, I think, to get all the way.
Speaking of charisma, there are rumors that Jim Ross, good old JR, is working without a contract in WWE.
That means he can be fired at any moment.
He already got fired 3 times. I don't know if you've heard.
I wish he'd get fired a 4th and not
How would you
back.
wish such ill will on a human being? He's got a family.
My God, he's got a family.
And you know how much you love JR? The way you
emulate,
impersonate him, and try to sound like him and be like him.
I'm not the one that wore a cowboy hat. Jim Ross has never had a beard, as far as I know.
Oh. World Wrestling Entertainment announces a few bits of information from their September business that their average, if you had to guess, you know the answer, I think, because you were reading the little
if I had to guess
earlier, but if you had to guess what the average attendance per show was for all WWE events, including Raw, SmackDown, and ECw.
And house shows?
House shows, TV, pay-per-view, everything. The total average attendance for the month of September.
I'd say 7,000. That's what I would guess. If I were to average in Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, ECW, and house shows, I'd say 7,000. High on the pay-per-views, low on the ECW house shows.
3,664.
Awful.
It's the best thing going today.
Awful.
It's the best thing going today. And an average gate, which is money they make off of ticket sales per event, of $109,568.
So as Vince McMahon would say, business is picking up.
JR says that, actually. We've talked for a couple of weeks here about how the wrestling business in general seems to be on an upswing. We saw TNA have a successful run in Detroit for their pay-per-view offering Bound for Glory just a couple of weeks ago, where they drew about 4,400 paid to that one event. And obviously ECW now touring along with WWE's Raw and SmackDown. Is this a symbol or a signal that growth is not as big as we thought it may have been?
No, because I think that the growth show in the numbers come in October, November, December, January, when there's really nothing to do outside. Remember that it still was warm in September. There still was things to do in half the country.
Yes.
Royal Rumble, with the exception of WrestleMania, is the most attended, most watched, most highly anticipated pay-per-view of the year. Again, with the exception of WrestleMania. Because you know why? There's nothing to do on that Sunday. They specifically schedule it on the Sunday that is the off week before the Super Bowl.
It's usually before the Super Bowl.
Before the Super Bowl.
The business trends, if you will, of wrestling up and down throughout the year. Obviously, once the football season starts, less people are going to events now. WWE, I believe, is still running more events than they did the prior year with ECW events. More on that later, thrown into that mix. And obviously, bringing down the average for the overall product were the smaller venues that were run ECW. Even if ticket sales were good, it was still a lower capacity building, so the overall average attendance would go down. Now, WWE is also running some smaller venues as well. So is this number really a horrible number? I wouldn't say horrible. When I say bad, yes. But again, who's doing better right now out there?
Nobody. I mean, that's the state of the business.
Speaking of the business, Stone Cold Steve Austin's movie,
What?
The Condemned,
What?
will be released on April 27th of 2007.
What?
It's going to be pushed heavily along with promotion for WrestleMania 23, and there are rumors out there that Stone Cold Steve Austin will be involved in some way, shape, or form in WrestleMania 23. I think I said 3 earlier. WrestleMania 23, coming to you from Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. Now, Austin has gone on record and said many a time he does not have another match in him. He does not want to risk permanent paralysis to wrestle. The time has to be right. He needs at least 6 months of training before he's willing to get in the ring. Meathead, will we see a return match? Will we see the match that was teased so heavily last year during the WrestleMania festivities, Austin
teased
Hogan at Detroit, Michigan's WrestleMania 23?
It's been teased at this very table. We've talked. That is the match.
I am no tease.
That is the match. I'm telling you right now, that is the match that we want to see. We want to see Austin, we want to see Hogan. The two top money winners in the business over the last 30 years. Austin, Hogan, one-on-one.
Hogan has seemingly or reportedly been looking for a match with the Big Show at that particular pay-per-view. Big Show suffering from some back problems that
Carrying a lot of show around.
Oh, yeah. He looked very bloated this past week.
Not as bloated as he did in 1999 or 2000, whenever it was. Good God almighty, Frank, Dameon, and Meathead know exactly what we're talking about. Gross.
Better match. Austin
Hogan, Big Show.
Hogan, Big Show.
That's the one we're trying to talk about.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yeah. Hogan Big Show would probably be a better match because it's the whole, well, we're in WrestleMania 23, and remember 20 years ago it was with the Giant, but...
How old were you 20 years ago? 2 or -3?
20 years ago I acted the same way I do now, especially this last weekend.
The Marine, the current movie out starring WWE champion John Cena, has reached a pretty significant point in its run. After 18 days of release, it has surpassed Kane's See No Evil domestic gross with about $15.6 million made so far. Rumor says, and the figures are not public, but rumor says that about $23 million is what WWE spent to make the movie, and you put on top of that promotional costs and things of that nature, they're probably looking at $35 million you need to make in order to break even on this movie. Keep in mind, reports are that they still have not made even on Kane's See No Evil movie, which will be released on DVD coming up in the next couple of months.
That's where you make your money back.
I'm bringing money back. Well, look at movies that have done...
I brought sexy back.
Look at...
You're
I didn't know
watching this
sexy
program.
went anywhere. Look at all the movies that have done well in DVD release that didn't do so well in the theaters. Prime example, Office Space.
I did see that in the theaters, though.
You did?
Yes.
Was that a double play? Double feature?
No.
At the Capitol Court Cinemas? You sneak in?
Nope. Capitol Court Cinemas. How long has it been since the Capitol Court Cinema has been?
Probably about 10 years.
I mean, it's not even called Capitol Court anymore. It's Midtown now. Sorry, that's a Milwaukee reference. Sorry.
Ooh, Flash, you are so funky. Flash Funk, set to return. Two Code Scorpio, set to come back as Flash Funk on SmackDown for WWE. Now, my question is, what does MVP have to say about that? Because to me, MVP is Flash Funk 2006.
MVP is a Power Ranger. You know it. I know it. American people
Which
know
one?
it. He looked one of the.
Weren't they just called colors?
Yeah. Power Ranger Blue.
Great way to teach kids, folks, with these Power Rangers. Show them the colors matter and what color the person is.
You ever see the movie Colors?
No. Is that the one with Kunta?
No, that's the one with Ice-T, Sean Penn, Robert Duvall, all those guys.
Two Code Scorpio, Flash Funk. He's been around for quite a while. I don't know if we have access to it, but we'll try to find.
Squad.
We'll try to find that video he made in WCW. All I remember is the scene on the basketball courts. Because, since he's black.
Damn!
Iron Mike Sharp, ladies and gentlemen. There's a name that you don't hear very often. One of the best filler talent wrestlers, I'll call him.
Job Squad.
Of the day. Recently went in for hip replacement surgery. Had some complications of that. Ended up in the hospital after that. Is now confined to a wheelchair. Iron Mike Sharp.
Sorry.
Best of luck to Iron Mike in his... maybe we'll see him pop up as a legend on Raw, which I think would be awesome, by the way, sometime in the near future. Notice I said Raw, not that other program. being Smackdown. Smackdown. The ratings for WWE Smackdown are the highest they've been on the CW network since its debut. 2.8 is the rating it got over the last 2 weeks.
Really?
On a Friday night.
Really?
Yeah.
Dameon Nelson, you and myself happened to sit at the Milwaukee taping of SmackDown, which
that was at the Brad, right?
It was at the Bradley Center in Milwaukee.
The Brad.
And you folks have seen the ECW show, which was taped there, and you've seen the SmackDown, which was taped there.
They're seeing it tonight. You know, I gotta say, I consider myself unbiased.
I don't.
Went to Raw in Chicago. 15,500 people sold it out. Great atmosphere. Great show. King Booker on the card. Kevin Federline. K-Feed. Is that what book called?
That doesn't make the show great.
It was all
what makes
part
it
of the
great
overall
is
entertainment.
the building and the fans
That
of
trash hole, the Allstate Arena.
But it's a wrestling building.
It's a trash hole.
It's a hot wrestling building.
Having been to that event and then going to WWE Smackdown at the Bradley Center in Milwaukee, where there may have been 5,000 people there. Granted, it was on a Sunday night, and I think
it was
that
late.
One team playing.
Yeah, they played in the afternoon.
So, you know, there was a lot against the show. The show itself, folks. Sometimes it's better to see a show live and be in the arena and have it suck on TV. It's rare that you go to a TV taping, unless it's WCW Nitro or Thunder, and it just completely sucks. And I am so sorry to say, but the best part of the night was when JBL got in the commercial break. And JBL could do. That, my friends, was the best part of the card. Now, I did enjoy the backstage vignettes, which is on the SmackDown you're going to see tonight, so sorry to spoil it for you.
One of the vignettes has been edited and changed.
I did enjoy what I saw in some of the backstage vignettes with All Hail King Booker and Batista. But,
I'll tell you what I enjoyed.
King Booker never entered the bowl of the Bradley Center. All hail! How can we hail the man when he's not even in the arena, as far as in the bowl of the arena? I just don't get it. Horrible show. I really, really felt bad for the SmackDown stars. And I know that doesn't matter to anybody, but from a fan's perspective, it was,
I'll tell you,
it was pretty weak.
You know what actually I enjoyed? More than
What did
anything
you
else.
enjoy, Meathead?
Not sitting with you, but drawing heat. I like to go to shows and upset the clientele around me. So when...
Not just with your smell.
When poor little Ray...
Oh, Ray Mysterio.
When poor little Ray...
Right? You want it later on?
Poor little Ray,
when
he came out and said, boo. I enjoyed watching the replay of Chavo hitting him in the knee and yelling, Booyaka! Booyaka!
Bye-bye, Ray! We'll see you
Thanks
later.
for coming, Ray. Bye,
We'll miss you.
you little midget.
Come on now. Hey, no offense to any of our international viewers who are watching who are height deficient. We apologize for Meathead's comments, and if you have any questions about where you can direct mail to Meathead, visit our website, pwrshow.com.
And my man was on the show as well.
Who dat?
Well, you would have thought I was going to say, Kennedy!
Oh, hell!
But it was not. It was the second return of the Boogeyman. Coming in. Get you.
There were some good moments of the night, I will say that. And
there was a naked girl out there, too.
Even with, and granted, seeing the ECW taping and all that was fun and fresh and fun. Seeing, you know, the local dude, CM Punk, coming back to the Midwest, you know, it was great.
Davari.
It was good. All I was hoping for, and I knew it wasn't going to happen, we'll have more information on him in just a few minutes, but Muhammad Hassan, one of the greatest gimmicks of the last 5 years, at the right time in the right place until they went to SmackDown and UPN. I was hoping. But it was still great to see Sean Davari. However, when's the last time you've seen someone escorted by the ring that is 3 times the size the person that is wrestling?
Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash.
Oh. Stephanie McMahon may be returning at Cyber Sunday's pay-per-view, as you know. She gave birth to a child by her baby's dad at Triple H, and has been taking some time off to do her maternal duties, and will be returning to WWE.
Says that broad needs to stay home while I'm working.
As the creative lead for WWE programming. Speaking of Muhammad Hassan, he is now working as a personal trainer in SoCal, Southern California. Those of you who recall, he left WWE to pursue options in the acting world, and the Italian the Italian Middle Eastern.
I'll just let you hang yourself on that.
That's another Lisa Lampanelli moment. She says something about a Hindu princess.
Yeah.
You have to be there to see it, I guess. So, yes, Muhammad Hassan seemingly making his own living down in California as a personal trainer.
That's good. And, Dameon, we don't agree often, but I got to tell you, I loved Muhammad Hassan. It doesn't matter how much of a heel he was supposed to be. The heat was hot.
Right,
It
place,
was
right. It's like when
angry
Sergeant
heat.
Slaughter became WWE champion in 1991, defended the belt at
91,
WrestleMania,
apologize.
Stars and Stripes Forever. Slaughter, Hogan, WWE capitalized on the Gulf War then. They're attempting to capitalize on the mistake in Iraq now.
It's called Gulf War II.
Oh. Total nonstop action, folks. Let's go to their news segment and talk to you about a person who I didn't really notice was gone because I don't miss him. Scott D'Amore.
Coach Scott.
Coach Scott D'Amore, Team Canada, broken up. Petey Williams not being used effectively, in my opinion. But he is working with the UWF out in the East Coast to push more TNA house shows. And a couple more were just announced on Thursday of this past week from TNA. Now, Meathead would tell you that this man who I'm about to talk about now was not the downfall of WWE in 2001, but I believe and I know that he had a run similar to that of Kevin Nash when he was champion in WWE.
Wrong!
Chris Jericho is now reportedly in talks for a return to professional wrestling. There are those who say those talks are with TNA, and there are those who say those talks are with WWE.
Who is those?
People out there are reporters across the world, our correspondent team.
Chris, it doesn't matter.
Orlando
Chris, it
correspondent.
doesn't matter where you show up. Just be on my TV when you say you're going to be there. That's all I ask.
Maybe the Lionheart could come back.
I like the line.
Now, if Jericho were to go to TNA, what would they do to Christian's entrance?
They'd have to get rid of it because Christian's entrance is Jericho's entrance.
Oh. Kurt Angle, speaking of house shows, has been added to a couple of upcoming TNA house shows and will be wrestling on their touring shows, which can do nothing but help business for TNA. Now, that's a situation, folks, more and more I look at it, is a situation where TNA, no matter what they spent on him, within reason, of course, it's paying off, and it will continue to pay off. And you add people like Jericho to the mix, and you've got yourself a bit of a problem if you're any other wrestling organization, namely WWE. Chris?
Just show up. That's all I ask.
Vince Russo, also back working full-time with TNA, says
That's
he was
a shame.
called and asked to return. However, Vince Russo, in a recent interview on TNAWrestling.com, says that he is born again.
Hey, I know that this show is on the internet, but I also know that this show airs locally in Milwaukee, so I'm going to refrain from the
Topeka
word.
and Nome.
I'm going to refrain from the word I would like to use, but just because you're born again doesn't mean you can't be born again a whole.
Well, now, Vince Russo, a man who is not very popular in most people's minds.
Read
in
into
the world of
Eric
wrestling.
Bischoff's book a little bit.
Read Eric Bischoff's book, or you could even check out the interview section of PWRshow.com, see our interview with Jim Cornette, and see what he thinks of Vince Russo. Also, see our interview with Vampiro, see what he thinks of Vince Russo.
What was that?
Vampiro! Vampiro! Vampiro!
Good God almighty, Vampiro!
Check out the interview archives, folks. Lots of stuff from the past about Vince Russo, and see what current wrestlers. Keep in mind, we have interviews with Jimmy Hart on there, Rita Merrill, Sable. Also, his name is I forgot it because I just said it and now I forgot
Big
it.
Vito.
His name is
Ash the
his
Roo.
name is Jim Cornette. Yes, him. How can I forget the
He
greatest?
also
mouth
apparently
in
does
professional
not like
wrestling?
Sierra Mist.
It's like donkey piss. Vince Russo saying, he sees a lot of stuff on wrestling now that he is opposed to, and sees a lot of stuff on wrestling in the past that he can't believe he came up with because he is now devout.
Again, you can be devout, but doesn't mean you can't devout yourself to being a whole.
And some of the best news I've heard all week, the James Gang is taking time off from TNA.
Hey.
Add them to the Jim Cornette and Jeff Jarrett vacations, if you will. And you've got two groups of people, 3 people total, who you don't mind not seeing, and 1 person who you really would rather see on TNA, him being Jim Cornette. James Gang, Kip James. God almighty, it even hurts me to say the name, Kip James.
BG James as well.
Taking some time off from TNA.
You know, I've
will
had
not
that
miss
stinky.
them, ladies and
You know, I've
gentlemen.
had that stinky monkey on my back before.
That stinky monkey named Kip.
BG.
BG. Moving right along, folks.
Dead
to
weight.
ECW news. Remember C.W. Anderson, Christopher W. Anderson? He's at home rehabbing his back, injured his back recently at a show, and hopefully will be back in the ring in ECW.
You know who I miss from
very soon.
ECW?
Who do you miss?
Chicken Blocker! The Amish Roadkill.
ECW house shows after December 9th, I believe, or 26th, no longer separate from WWE branded shows. What I mean is, WWE has announced that after that date, SmackDown and ECW will be touring together. So you will see somewhat of a brand melding.
So they won't be two distinctly different bands, will they? Thank you.
Not on house shows, they will not, but to the television product.
If you look at
what WWE
SmackDown-
is doing is they're attempting to give the fans
Stop.
more at each
Stop.
of their house shows.
If you look at SmackDown right now,
if
they're
you
not.
can, give it a
If
try.
you look
can
at
hear
SmackDown
JBL.
right now, or did look at SmackDown, say, 6 months ago, and look at ECW now, they are not two distinctly different brands because the guys on ECW used to be on SmackDown.
4 people over to ECW from SmackDown, namely Sean Daivari, the Great Khali, and a number of 2 others over to ECW now.
Renee
What they're
Dupree,
doing, recently, what they're doing is simply rounding out. You know, when you've got the wrestling god.
ECW, you know what ECW is now? Is the house for rejected SmackDown talent.
Hey,
And
are you
if
saying
you
CM
want-
Punk has rejected SmackDown
No,
talent?
because
Are
he
you saying
wasn't a
RVD,
SmackDown.
Big Show?
He wasn't a SmackDown talent. RVD was not a SmackDown talent. Big Show was not a SmackDown talent. Big Show was on Raw. If you can't make it on SmackDown and you get put to ECW, what does it say about you? What does it say about SmackDown if they're trying to take all the names and put them on ECW?
ECW toured for a total of about 4 months. A smart cost-cutting move, in my opinion, by WWE.
Sure.
However, the point I was making earlier, folks, if you look at these shows and look at when you check out Cyber Sunday on pay-per-view, there's a difference. And it's not just special anymore when all the talents are on one brand's program.
Because
It's
they're not
better.
distinctly different anymore. Because they look the same.
There is less of a distinction now, but I do feel that the brands are still distinctly different from one another.
What's going on with Tatanka?
Hey, how are ya? Hey, how are ya? Dude, when we were sitting in the Brad, and Tatanka came out and went heel, if you will, with his face painted, he did that before! I had a moment of deja vu because I thought I saw the same promo on Superstars back in 1992. Chief Running Chicken, what is going on?
Many moons since you did that before.
It was amazing.
I know.
And I don't remember, if any of you watching remember exactly when it happened, or if I'm smoking crack and it didn't happen, but I almost vividly recall that I was channeling.
Who are you, Eric? Showtime Eric Young?
I was channeling.
Yeah. We're in ECW now.
Yes, but we are going to move on to Cyber Sunday, the pay-per-view coming up
Okay.
Sunday on WWE pay-per-view. The main event, Meathead, 3 men, 1 champion will be crowned. Champion of Champions match. Big Show will go one-on-one with John Cena, who will go one-on-one with All Hail King Booker.
That one went even further.
And we don't know which title is going to be on the line.
I
The
bet you're a
fans will
Carlito fan,
decide.
aren't you? Here's the thing I don't like about this. WWE is trying to get you to put Cena's title up on a line. We know that we want John Cena's title on. Why do they have to push so hard? Who cares? The person that's title is going to be on the line isn't going to lose it.
Ooh. God, he's smart, guys. Did you read that somewhere? You read that on the internet, didn't you?
It's right
Got
here.
that off one of those dirt sheets, didn't you?
It's right here.
The smart way to play it, folks, is to give King Booker not only the win, but the title of one of the other 2 brands that was put on the line, and bring it over to SmackDown and create a little buzz over there on that Friday night show on the CW network?
No.
Namely, the ECW Championship. Why?
Which means nothing right now.
Until December 3rd. Why? Because they're going to be touring together, SmackDown and ECW. Big show.
Why have
All
two
hail,
different brands
RVD.
if you're already melding them together? What's the point?
Business. It's a simple business, son.
It's awful.
Money in, money out.
We
And more
went
money in
through
than money
this
out.
already in 2001.
Back when the brands became distinctly different?
We went through. No, in
Was
2001 was WCW was still alive, was killed in March.
It was on life support.
It was killed in March.
By itself.
And in
Suicide.
June, July, you started seeing little questions pop up on WWE. Should we put the new WCW show on Saturday night? Should we put it on Friday nights? What network do you think it's going to be? They tried to launch it, and that's when the invasion started to happen.
One of their best pay-per-views as far as buys go.
Because
of all time.
people still cared. But when Vince crapped all over it, there it went.
That's this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report. Before we go, though, I'd like to thank all of you for making our website traffic the busiest it's ever been last week. Specifically, all of our viewers from the United Kingdom across the pond. You'll see in this week's edition of PWR Daily coming up every single day because, you know, we do that for you every single day. We've got brand new content on PWRshow.com. A couple of new features coming up to the PWR Daily. Fantasy Match was a big hit from last week, so we'll continue that on Tuesdays. But coming up, watch for a new feature on Wednesdays on PWR Daily.
Called Meathead Shows His Stuff.
And remember, hop on over to our YouTube channel, and no one will be watching that. Hop on over to our YouTube channel and sign up, folks. Become a subscriber and get advance notification of new shows from the Pro Wrestling Report. It's all free. We never charge you for anything. You don't get those stupid pop-ups. You don't get lies. You don't get fake news. You don't get fake rumors. This is real. We are real. We are fans. You are fans. And we do this for you. And we'll never charge you money. All right? Just think of that. With that being said,
Gimmick infringement.
With that being said, thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Keep those emails coming. Another record week last week. And we'll see you on PWR Daily and next week on the Pro Wrestling Report. Thanks, folks.